Hey guys, welcome back, Bushcraft Family, with another video. And sorry it's been a while for videos and stuff on this channel. I've been trying to think of direction to go with it and whatnot. But anyway, hopefully you guys see this. I've been getting many questions about, the government shutdown. Will I get this? And will I get that? And what programs that will shut down? And, oh, they're going to stop this and they're going to stop that. Well, I just decided to go to the source and of the government shutdown. And they have frequently asked questions that people keep asking, about the shutdown and stuff. So we're going to go through some of these questions and get a little input put on it, so to speak. The federal government has shut down as of midnight, September 30th, 2025, starting on October 1st. The federal government's operation drastically reduced. Many of our services and communities rely on will be closed to the public, may continue with limited capacity. Okay. The first one, we're not going to go into it. What is a government shutdown? Everybody should know what that is by now. We've heard it on the news and enough times, even though news doesn't quite give you much details. They sometimes stretch the news or stretch the truth. Stretch the news. Yeah. Who is affected by a government shutdown? And this is a government affects all government agencies funded by annual operations, causing non-essential employees to be furloughed and the suspension of some citizen services, which really doesn't tell us too much. Who does and doesn't get paid during a government shutdown? Now, this doesn't mean one place will be open and one place won't. Some places that won't get paid will still work for a short time. People can only work for no pay for so long before they have to quit and go somewhere else to get support their family and whatnot. So this varies. Now I'm going to give you what their departments say that will be not be getting paid for these services. And in hospital medical care, air traffic controllers, law enforcement, military personnel, power grid workers. Now, again, this is government agencies that will not be getting paid. That doesn't mean that that's going to, halt what they do. Some will stay working, but for how long is up in the air, so to speak. Who will be getting paid? United States Postal Service will still be getting paid. Members of Congress will get paid, and the president, which the president, even in his first term, never received a pay. He donated it for other things. We won't go into that, but yeah. Here's the next one. This one is a big one. Will I continue to receive my Social Security and SSI payments? The answer is yes. During a government shutdown, recipients will continue to receive their Social Security and supplemental security income checks. The Social Security Administration will continue to issue original and replacement Social Security cards and process applications for benefits and appeals. Field offices will remain open. Based on previous government shutdowns, some Social Security services may be affected, such as benefit verifications, overpayment processing, which will often need to reapply for assistance programs. Will I still be able to use my Medicare or Medicaid? Yes, Medicaid and Medicare are deemed mandatory programs, and benefits will not be disrupted during a shutdown. The shutdowns will not affect Medicare's open enrollment period beginning October 15th. How will veterans be impacted? Veteran health will not be affected by the shutdown. Benefits will continue to be processed and delivered, including compensation, pensions, education, and housing benefits. Will I still receive my WIC or SNAP benefits for groceries? 7 million people across the United States participate in the the SNAP program and WIC. While in some states, now this is the thing that you have to pay attention to, because a lot of people think that they'll lose their benefits and stuff because it's a government thing, but it is run by states. So every state is going to be different. So if you're still thinking about this, you need to contact the state you live in. While in some states and territories, the shutdown will impact benefit delivery, meaning you'll still get it, but you, dependent on your state during a shutdown, when you receive this. Most states will remain, their WIC programs will remain open and fully operational. Services are continuing without interruptions, and families should still attend their appointments so they can access their, nutritional and blah, blah, blah needs of that. And it tells you to go find your state and ask them the questions and make sure your state is still open and for these programs. So that was a big thing. Everybody kept saying the other night, everybody's going to lose their SNAP programs and welfare and this and that. Now, there are certain groups, like basically, if you're a U.S. citizen, you will be getting yours over people who are not citizens. I'll put that. I'm not going to go too much into it, but yeah. Now this one, will I still have access to my temporary assistance for needy families? This is TANF, includes cash assistance, because TANF is funded by the government but not administered by state agencies. The availability of benefits will depend on your state's policy. Again, this is your state's phone's going off like crazy. Again, this will depend on your state. So if you're receiving this or thinking about getting it, whatever, contact your state. Will my mail still arrive? And you guys probably already know this. Yes, approximately 500,000 Postal Service employees are exempt from the furlong, meaning they will continue to go to work because the Postal Service is self-funded. And a lot of places are this, that are government agencies. A lot are not, though. Will public schools be affected? And again, this is going to be a state thing. So some preschools and schools readiness centers will close, leading to some children losing their Head Start benefits. Public elementary, middle, and high school schools will be able to rely on state funding to continue to operate. Again, it depends. If they're going to Head Start or some government-funded agencies, then you may need to look more into this. And again, some of these will continue to run even though they're not getting funded. People will continue to work, but for how long is determined on how long they can survive without that paycheck coming in. Will I be able to visit national parks, monuments, and museums? The majority of national parks will be closed during the shutdown, with the exceptions of parks that are physically accessible to public, such as lookouts, campgrounds, trails, open air memorials. The National Mall in Washington, D.C. is an example of the federal park that will remain open. Federal staff will not be present to maintain park land during the shutdown. Park visitors should be prepared to see locked bathrooms, litter overflowing cans on national park lands. Museums operated by federal government will be closed during the shutdown, including the Smithsonian and the National Zoo, although some museums may remain open for a few days using leftover funds from previous years. Will federal courts still be open? Federal courts are expected to remain open and continue operations for at least 2 weeks after shutdown begins. And we're well over that by now. And they say, depending on the agencies, again, you have to go do your local areas to find this out a lot of times. Will assistance related to my federal student loans be affected? Key activities at federal student aid will continue for a few weeks, but a prolonged shutdown could disrupt the agency. So you just have to, if you or your kids want access to it, you better do it now before it's too late. Now, will the IRS be available for tax filings and tax refunds. Ooh. If you're filing your 2024 tax with a valid extensions, you are still required to file by the deadline, which, is done over. That's October 16th. You may experience significant delays in processing tax refunds due to staffing shortages caused by the government shutdown. Now, come next year, you may see some issues quite a bit. And I think hopefully things will be done over by that, but who knows? Will federal disaster relief be available to communities affected by hurricanes, wildfires, and natural disasters? Yes, you guessed it. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. This is their reply. FEMA should still respond to emergencies, but long-term projects will be delayed due to lack of funding for the Disaster Relief Fund. That sounds about right. I mean, most of the time, should still respond sounds kind of familiar, huh? Now, here's a good one. This is one to pay attention to. Will my farm be able to access federal loans? The USDA Farm Service Agency offices will be closed during the shutdown, meaning that farmers will have to wait on their subsidized payments, loans, and commodity data. They need to make plans for spring and future growing seasons. Now, if you're just watching this and you're a farmer, you're probably, whoops, a lot of farmers will probably think during this time period that it's not going to last very long. We're already at the longest shutdown in the history of the United States, so we may see some issues coming in the foreseeable future for our farming industry. So what's that mean? Those who get loans to put a crop in for the next year, come springtime, a lot of this may see a lot of farms not be able to put in crops. Right now we have winter crops being put out. I don't know if we'll start seeing issues with that. We got wheat, corn, all the grains and stuff. Grains are still a big issue. Not to mention, ethanol for corn, feed for animals, there's a lot. So there's going to be an impact because of our farmers. Okay. And this is from the USDA. They have not yet said whether farmers will be expected to make loan payments during the shutdown. I can almost guarantee you that if you don't, you're going to have to make it up anyway. So make sure you get as much details for that as possible. Okay, I am in the middle of buying a house. Will my Federal Housing Administration issue loans? A shutdown may delay the process of closing your FHA insured home because of staff furloughing. The longer the shutdown lasts, the more serious the impact will be. Meaning some will work even though they're not getting that pay, and eventually they will shut down completely. And this also goes to, I'm facing foreclosure on my FHA backed loan. Does the clock stop? No. You still have to pay. Here's another one. Will I have access to federal rental and housing assistance during a shutdown, such as housing choice vouchers? Yes, households will continue to receive U.S. Department of Housing Urban Development, which is HUD, assistance through the end of the year. Housing choices vouchers, public assistance, or public housing, and project-based rental assistance are funded until the end of the calendar cycle. However, a prolonged shutdown past December could lead to delays in reviewing contracts and broader financial uncertainty of any shutdown may lead to public housing agencies to stop giving the vouchers out. Can I apply for Transportation Security Administration and pre-check for global entity during the shutdown? TSA pre-checked applications globally entry, however, they're canceled. Okay. Let's see. Upcoming international trip. About reviewing your passports. What should I expect? The U.S. Passport Agency is expected to remain open during the shutdown and continue to issue passports. However, some offices and services may be limited if those offices are in buildings ran by other agencies that is shut down. So, yeah. I am a United States citizen currently abroad. Will the local United States embassies be open? During the 2018 and 2019 partial shutdown, United States embassies remained open with limited services, but U.S. citizens living abroad should prepare for delays in any applications or process requests because of staff furloughs. So, again, it depends on the embassies in those areas. Let's see. Contractors. Yeah, that's kind of a given. Let me see if there's any more. I'm kind of reading through the list here. And you can go find these at the .gov places. It's not hard to go find this information. It's just people will watch the news and they get their answers from the news, and that's the worst place to do it. Go to the source. This is how long does a government shutdown last? The lengths of shutdowns vary as they last until Congress passes and the president signs the appropriate bills, The longest one was 35 days. Yeah. And what has happened to the end? What has to happen to end the government? That's the same thing. Now, Um, the FDA. There's a lot of talk about the FDA. The agency that, oh, here it is. Will the shutdown impact public health? Now, we need to pay attention to this one. This one is very important. So important, I'm getting a drink of water. The federal government will suspend most safety inspections for drinking water, food, work sites, and hazardous sites. Think about that. The agency responsible for food inspections, the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, will continue inspections of food being imported from outside the country. However, it will need to halt inspections of domestic food, where the FDA often tests salmonella in breakfast cereal, E. coli in romaine lettuce, and listeria in ice cream. Will be no more for stuff that's locally made. What's that mean? Eggs, for instance, will not be inspected. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to cut to where, it won't go to the grocery store, but they won't be inspected. Meat grown here in the United States, it's grown, will not be inspected. This is the FDA. This is ones that test and inspect things for, E. coli, salmonella, listeria, all that stuff. Now, I'm not saying that you won't get your food, but if you remember back in 2020 when there was a shutdown because of, the bug that was around, milk, for instance, came in and was dumped because they couldn't. Once the farmers brought the milk to get inspected so they could sell it, there was nobody to inspect it, so they had to dump it. And they dumped it where they got it inspected because they didn't have no other choice. It was in the news, you could see videos and stuff of farmers dumping. So this is probably the most important thing about the shutdown is this agency, so to speak. It's kind of sad that we're at this stage still in this country that we rely on a department to test our food and to okay it to be sold in restaurants, grocery stores, and such. So be prepared. That's all I'm saying. Be prepared. I'm not saying you're going to go to the store and you're not going to see milk, eggs, cheese, all that stuff that is normally inspected. A lot of stuff right now is stuff that has already been inspected, that are frozen, that kind of thing. But eventually we will start seeing shortages if this shutdown continues. And something to think about, people. Something to think about. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and end this. If you have any more questions, I'll try to do my best to answer them if it's available. Until next time, like always, God bless.